Hi. Okay, so today I am going to present how the blood moves through the heart. I have my handy dandy heart model right here. Let me stack it up on some books so you can see it. Ooh, I need another book. Okay, so the heart is a bit complicated and tricky, but whenever you get it down, it's pretty easy. Okay, so we're going to pretend like we are a drop of blood moving through the heart. Okay, I know it's like, how could you tell what's what through all this? Don't worry, it comes off. Okay, so what you need to know first is how we look at the heart. We are used to looking at things like this being the right, this being the left, obviously, but it's actually a little different in the heart. The heart, the way that we label it, we start with the right first, then we move to the left, which actually looking at it, they're backwards. But when it's in front of you and it's your heart, this is the right side of your heart, this is the left side. So it makes a little more sense. Okay, so we are a drop of blood and we are trying to get to the heart. So that drop of blood first enters through the side over here. We are at the right side of the heart because this is going to be on the right side of our body. We are going to enter the superior and inferior vena cava. This is the superior, which means above, and inferior means lower. So we're going to enter the heart via the superior and inferior vena cava. From there, right here, you'll see a little hole. We're going to fill into the right atrium. I always remember there's two chambers that you have to remember for each side of the heart. It is atrium and ventricle. I always remember it as atrium comes, like the letter A comes first in the alphabet, followed by a V later on in the alphabet. So we're going to spill in from the superior and inferior vena cava through this little hole right here. And we're going to spill right in here. And this is the right atrium. Okay. And then see this right here? It kind of looks like a little like a squid or an octopus thing. This is one of our valves. Okay. This is the tricuspid valve. Tricuspid valve. Okay. And one thing that a lot of medical students use to remember, you have your tricuspid on the right, your mitral on the left. Okay. Now there is a difference between these two valves. The tricuspid it has like three little leaflets. We call like them leaflets. They're like little parts of the heart that come together to create that lock. These are our leaflets. We have one, two, three. We have three leaflets, which make up the tricuspid valve. Tri means three. So whenever that valve opens, those leaflets open and they close. They open and they close. Okay, so the way that we remember it is you always want to try something before you buy it. You never buy a car without driving it. So you try it first, then you buy it. So it's try before you buy. Tricuspid mitral valve. The mitral valve is called the bicuspid valve because it only has two leaflets. So when it closes, here's our leaflets. We have one, two. When it opens, the valve opens. When it closes, the valve closes. So it is try before you buy. Tricuspid valve. So we've come from the superior vena cava to the inferior vena cava, and we are filling in through this hole into the right atrium. Then we go to the tricuspid valve. That tricuspid valve, I'll lean it forward. That tricuspid valve will spill in to right down in here. I don't know if I can take this out or not. It will fill in right in here, right in there. This is where the tricuspid valve sits, right here, and it fills into right down here. That is called the right ventricle. Okay, so this is the part of the heart that is predominantly very thin. compared to the left side. This right here, this is our septum. This is what separates each side of our heart, right from left. Okay, so this is our septum. This is the right side. It's quite thin compared to the left side, which is quite thick, which, like I mentioned in my speech about heart failure, the left side of the heart is predominantly the side that is most affected by heart failure. And in our lab, we like to get all of our samples from the left side just because it's a little easier to cut. Okay, so this is the part of the heart that is filling up. Okay, whenever you get your blood pressure taken at the doctor's office, you know, they always read off like a funny number, like blah, blah, blah over blah, blah, blah. Have you ever wondered what those numbers mean? Your blood pressure consists of two different pressures, your diastolic and your systolic. Diastolic is the filling up of the heart, which means that it's resting. It's filling up, the right side fills up, the left side ejects, which is your systolic. So diastolic is filling up, which is the right side of the heart. It's filling into the heart. Systolic, left side, it's ejecting. Okay, so we're right in that right ventricle, okay? And then we are going to, right under here, there's a little notch that is going to send us to the pulmonary arteries. A good way to tell the difference between an artery and a vein is artery starts with an A, artery away. So artery away from the heart, vein too. So we're going to leave that right ventricle and we are going to go to that pulmonary valve. Okay, that pulmonary valve will open and it will open into the pulmonary artery. Okay, and that artery will take that blood away from the heart. It will take it to the lungs. The blood will flow through the lungs, okay, and then it will come back via the pulmonary veins. So it kind of does like a little U-turn, leaves the heart to the lungs, through the lungs, then back to the heart. Okay, I know that's a little complicated. That's okay. That's okay. Alrighty. See right here? There's that like little notch down in there. It fills it up, and then there is our pulmonary artery. It's quite large. It's quite large. Okay. Then after that, it will come back through the pulmonary artery. Okay. And then it'll come back through and come through the pulmonary vein. It will go through the pulmonary artery to the lungs, through the lungs, and then back into the heart via the pulmonary veins. Okay, it's filling up right in here. Right up here, you will see this is our left atrium. A is at the beginning of the alphabet, V is at the last. So you know A comes first. So we have our left atrium, okay? That is the side of the heart that is connected to the pulmonary vein. And then we will go through this quite large valve. Remember, try before you buy, tricuspid mitral valve, or it can also be called the bicuspid valve. Tricuspid because we have 3 leaflets, bicuspid because there's only 2. Try 3, buy 2. Try before you buy. Okay, so we're leaving the left atrium. We're going through the bicuspid or the mitral valve, and then we're going to fill up right down here in this little crevice. We're going to fill up the left ventricle. Okay, we're almost out of the heart. Remember how I said this is the part of the heart that fills up? It fills with blood, and then it goes to the left side of the heart, which is going to eject the blood. Diastolic, systolic. Okay. All right. We left the mitral valve. We're through the mitral valve now, and we are settling in the left ventricle. Then don't get too comfortable because we're not going to stay there for very long. The heart beats and then it ejects us right up through here. You'll see right there. See that? That is your aortic valve. Your aortic valve is quite important. And then it will take you up through here. Aortic valve. This is your aorta. Arteries are predominantly red whenever they're being labeled in a book, on a chart. Arteries are almost always red. I can't think of an example that I've seen that arteries aren't red and veins are blue. Remember, arteries away, veins too. Okay, then we're going to go up through the aortic valve up to this little spot up here. We got all these 3 holes up here. That's your aorta. It's pretty big because it has to pump blood to the rest of your body. So this is the filling up side of the heart, the right side. Then you have the ejecting side of the heart, which is the left side. The right side is the diastolic and systolic pressures. Diastolic is measuring when your heart stops beating. It's at its resting state. And the systolic is measuring when it's actually beating. So whenever your heart beats, you're actually measuring this side of your heart. But when it's not beating and it's at its rest state, it's this side of the heart. So that was the entire walkthrough of the human heart. It's not as difficult. It's about 14 parts, 14 or so. Depends how many you want to count as one single part. But yeah, that is the human heart. And that is what I work with on a daily basis in lab. Hope you've learned something. A lot of people think it's really complicated, but when you've got the right teacher, it becomes pretty easy. Thanks.